Hello, Lake Wales. This is Catherine Price, and we're back for edition number 4 of The Three Little Ladies.
Hi, Juanita Zwarchuk here. I'm another little lady.
I'm Charlene. Nice to see all you again.
How are y'all this morning? Or it's afternoon now, right?
Yeah, not bad.
Beautiful day in Florida.
Well, it's Sunday afternoon, but I have my little wine going on here.
And I gotta show you what I have here too.
Oh, wow. Old Lives Matter. Oh, cool.
Yes.
I'm doing the lady part.
Oh, she's going for tea. What's in your tea there, Juanita? Is it anything?
I have Ceylon tea this time. Yeah, no, I'm not hiding any gin in there. It's just tea.
All right. Well, so what do we? I think this morning we need to, or this afternoon. I keep saying morning. It feels like morning to me. I'm not used to the time change yet, so I still feel like it's morning. Let's talk about Lake Wales elections. They're here on us, right?
Yeah.
Yes, April 2nd coming up.
Well, I've already got my vote by mail ballot. I'm going to vote by tomorrow. It'll be in the mail.
Mine is already in the mail. You want to know who I voted for?
Well, are you going to go for that? Let's do the big reveal. Okay. The first thing is, let's say who is running. Okay. So we've got 2 seats that are up, and we have incumbents in both of those seats. It's seat number 2 is Daniel Williams is our the incumbent, and he's running against Brandon Alvarado and Crystal Higbee. And then the seat 4 is the incumbent is Danny Kruger, and she's running against Carol Gillespie. So, and I've never figured out exactly how to pronounce Mr. Kruger's name. I want to say Kruger. Some people say Krieger. Do you know what the correct way is?
Yes, I think it's Krieger. It's German. I think it's probably Krieger.
Well, okay. He wants us to say Krieger because he's corrected me a number of times. What he doesn't understand is that perhaps
Okay. Well, then we need to call him Danny Krieger. Well, anyway, he's running against Carol Gillespie. And so did you still want to reveal who you voted for, Charlene?
Well, let's talk. Why don't we talk a little bit first about those forums and kind of cover some of what happened before we reveal who we were voting for. I know Juanita had some thoughts about that AAUW forum.
Very disappointed that the 2 incumbents, Williams and Krieger, chose not to come to the
Well, let's frame this first for the public, guys. On March 4th, the Lake Wales Women's Club, in conjunction with the AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women, the Lake Wales chapter, had a joint forum for our city commissioners at the Lake Wales Women's Club event. There was also one at Carlsberg Estate on March 5th, and there was a chamber event on March 6th at 6 p.m. at the Lake Wales Arts Council. And there's a couple more that are coming up. I think the Rotary Club is having one at Owlett Law Firm on March 11th.
That's been canceled.
Oh, it's been canceled. Okay.
Yes.
And then there's one at Lake Ashton on March 18th. I'm not sure what day that is, but it's at 10 a.m. and it's the gated community, but outsiders are welcome. So if you want to, when we'll go back and talk about the one that happened on March 4th with the AAUW and the Women's Club.
Well, the one that was on March 4th, the AAUW and the Women's Club, this has been a tradition here for many years for the AAUW to have an open forum. It's public, and it allows, after a few questions that the participants know about ahead of time, it then allows people in the audience to ask questions. They can write them down if they don't want to actually get up and ask them, or they can, come up to the microphone and ask themselves. And of all the public forums, and this is public and advertised, I believe we're the only one that actually does that, or at least that I'm aware of, because the others haven't. Like you just listed a whole bunch of forums. I was not aware of those forums. Where are they advertised? We advertised all over. But anyway, Williams and Krieger chose not to participate in that. And then the next forum was a forum without question and answer period. And what it seems to me is that, the commissioners, if they really are looking for a way to communicate and have better communication with the public, why are they avoiding a perfect opportunity to do that? It really kind of, in my mind, that would be an opportunity to engage in some meaningful discourse. When we go to a commissioner meeting and we state something we're concerned about, they're not answering us. It's not part of the program for them to answer us. Later on, usually what happens is that they don't really answer anything that we brought up, but they sometimes refer to us as malcontents or troublemakers, or so that is not a good vehicle for any kind of discourse. This would have been, and I think it should be noted that it seems that I don't know, what does it seem like?
Well, I think what you might want to mention is that both of these primary forums that have been held now, AUW Women's Club, where two candidates, the incumbents, did not attend, but we did have a wonderful question and answer session, and the chamber one where the questions were kind of stilted and there was no question and answer. Both of those are out there and available for people to see somewhere.
Mhm.
So, and people who are listening to us right now might want to watch one of those.
Thank you, Sean. I should have mentioned that because they can, anyone can go. I believe on our AUW website, you can go on and you can listen.
Is it on the website or the Facebook page?
Excuse me, on our page.
I looked on Facebook and I didn't see it, so you might want to check and make sure that it's still available and out there.
But what it is it's embedded in an article from lakewalesnews.net because of the way it was filmed. It was very difficult for me to extract it, but it also is available on lakewalesnews.net. I believe that the one on Wednesday is available.
The one on the chamber is on Facebook Chamber, the Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, because I just checked that one and I saw that one on there.
But these other ones, I don't know what the format is, but they're not something that happens all the time. So I'm really not sure whether they allow question and answer. And do you need to be a member? For example, the ones that are being held privately in a community, do you need to be in that community to even know about it?
I've been to the one at Lake Ashton before, and this one is going to be held on March 18th at 10 to 11 a.m. And it says it's gated, but outsiders are welcome to attend. So you can attend the one at Lake Ashton. And I believe it's usually held in that main clubhouse at Lake Ashton.
Do they have a question and answer period? Are you aware of that?
I think when I went the one time I did go, there was a question and answer period. I'm not sure exactly who sponsors it there, but they did have one.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they all show up for that one.
Yeah. That's the time of their regular Monday morning coffee hour, which is open to the entire community. So I think they probably are used to doing questions and answers there.
Is it a forum or is it, have they invited all of the candidates?
I don't know, but I imagine they have, but I don't know for sure. I wonder if, since we're talking about this election, I would like to just mention a couple of things that were important to me in those forums. One, of course, was Lake Wales Envisioned. But there were two candidates who said some things that I really liked. And one was on the topic of commissioners engaging with the public rather than just us talking past each other at meetings, that they want to see some changes in the way communication takes place between commissioners and the public. And that was both Carol Gillespie and Brandon Alvarado who made those points. They also made points about the fact that they think some changes should be made in our invocation process because the invocations are only done by evangelical ministers, and that ignores much of the rest of the Christian population, and certainly all the other various religions and non-religions that are represented in our community. And they would like to be some changes made on that. And those were two of the things that I was really impressed with by those particular candidates.
Well, back in February, I think it was around Tuesday or Wednesday, February 20th or something, I had like a 2-hour conversation with one of our city commissioners, Keith Thompson. And as a result of that, I did some soul searching, and I wrote kind of a letter saying that there were several things that I thought could be done to improve the relationship between the city commission and the citizens, because there's a lot of complaints by the city commissioners about the fact that they feel like that's a problem. So I wrote this long, thoughtful letter, and it said things like they need to get rid of that Wednesday or rethink that Wednesday workshop, because it's at 2:00 in the afternoon where working people can't attend. And it's, they talk about everything at that workshop. And then a week later on Tuesday, they vote on this stuff and they've already made up their mind. Then the community participation in the meeting and our words mean absolutely nothing. That is wrong. And then the second thing was to improve the processes for the planning and zoning board, that the planning and zoning meetings need to be agendas need to be out there well in advance of the meetings instead of just 2 or 3 days, because, people, the developers, the people that are going to do stuff with their land, they have time, they have months and lawyers to deal with that. But the public that might be affected by these things, they have about 2 days to respond.
Plus they need to video them. So that we
they need to videotape those meetings, because they're not, so that people, if they're not able to be there, could see them and also pull them up later.
Right.
We had a problem with the Lake Alta project because we weren't at the meeting. We had no video to refer to. There was no minutes available for weeks, several weeks. They didn't even have draft minutes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brandon Alvarado mentioned that if he were elected, he would push for them to videotape every board. The library board, all the other boards. Mm-hmm. Great idea, because let's face it, how many of us can run over to all of them? And right. And yet we'd still like to know what's going on.
And maybe there might be something that would come up of importance that people want to refer to.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. And my third suggestion was that, just what Charlene had said, that we can't have one sector of the community that dominates those invocations at the beginning of the meetings.
Yeah. Okay. And I would like to add a fourth one, Catherine. I think if they continue with this unfortunate method of attempting to communicate with us, there's an alternative that should be added, or even if they do change things, I think that we need maybe once a month, a true town forum where the commissioners and every department head have to come to the meeting and have actual exchange of ideas with the citizens, where they get to talk back and forth and not talk past each other like we do in current. And I think people would show up, but of course it would have to be in the evening when people can come.
I totally concur. The sad thing, I gave that letter memo to the commission. That was like on a Thursday. That afternoon at 3:30, they sent out a notice for a pop meeting. I would call it a secret meeting at 9:00 the next morning that was held up at the new Lake Wales Health and Recreation Center, where there's no videotape equipment. They had a 4-hour meeting where they discussed a lot of things. And, some of them were our development issues, changes to our development code. They talked about the Lake Alta project and agreed that they were all going to kind of like close ranks and support giving away the park. I don't know, because I haven't listened to the audio. Did you listen to the audio?
I listened to the whole thing. And I'll tell you something really, really weird. They forgot to turn it off during lunchtime. So I heard all their conversations. Some of it, was information that perhaps shouldn't have been made, public about employees and such. They need to be a little more careful about that.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
Wow.
you have to listen to the whole thing. I listened to the whole 4 hours. And it's difficult during the lunch because since they didn't know it was on, there were people talking over each other. But the person closest to the microphone, you heard. Yeah. But anyway, that's just a little question. Maybe they might want to.
I want to listen to the 4 hours because, the reason that we even know there was a meeting was you were listening to, you were on Twitter and you saw these tweets coming through.
Yeah.
There were like 28 tweets. That's the only thing that we knew. And we know that they were talking about development. They were talking about this new concept of T&D and our which is traditional neighborhood developments. They were talking about the Lake Alta project and how the community just does not understand what's going on.
Catherine and Charlene, what it also is kind of funny, I think, is that I believe it was the next meeting where they were all together. Maybe it was the CRA or it might have been the commission meeting workshop. But it was suggested that perhaps they shouldn't live tweet during meetings. And I wondered, gee, what made them decide to do that all of a sudden?
Maybe we should mention that if people want to hear that tape, now that video or the audio of that meeting, that pop meeting, as Catherine calls it, it's out there in the ether. But you can also go to the city website and make a public records request of the city clerk, Jennifer Natick, and she'll send you a link to that whole meeting. And it's if you've got 4 hours sometime, or even less than 4 hours, if you don't want to watch it all, it's really worth hearing it.
Yeah, I listened a little at a time. Yeah. I spread that 4 hours out.
Well, I think that we were going to kind of go through and talk a little bit too about the upcoming community redevelopment meetings that are coming up. Now, a lot of people don't understand what the Community Redevelopment Agency is, or the CRA. Could you give us a little explanation of that, Charlene? Because I think it would be helpful for people to understand what that is.
Well, it's a separate organization in the city that was designed. It's a nationwide thing, community redevelopment agencies, and its purpose is to find money to improve on blighted areas in the city. And they have a methodology for siphoning off some of our taxpayer dollars that get specifically spent on blighted areas. It's a great concept. And there's a technical way they do it. I don't even fully understand that. But the CRA then the board is what controls what that organization does. They make the decisions about how that money is spent. And they have a monthly meeting pretty much once a month. It just so happens that this month they're having 2 meetings on this coming Tuesday. They're having one at 10 o'clock in the morning and one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The one at
City Hall.
At City Hall. The one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon has almost nothing on the agenda except for a presentation from BizLink, which presumably will be a little different from that sort of revival like one that they did at the City Commission recently. It'll be hopefully more of a presentation of what they're actually doing, of which many of us are quite confused, actually. Then the 10 o'clock meeting is, it's a technical thing, I think, kind of related to a difference of opinion that's going on right now between the city and the county regarding the expansion of the CRA. And there's some legal aspect to it. If somebody is interested, they can go and learn more about that.
Well, the CRA, the concept is that in a particular geographical area, supposedly it's a blighted area. They're not using it exactly like that right now.
Yeah.
But the first CRA they set up in Lake Wales was mostly the Northwest area. And it was a small area of town, and there's a certain amount of tax base there. And theoretically, when the CRA or Community Redevelopment Agency increases the value of the taxes in that particular area, the taxes that are generated by that increase goes into the CRA for use to reinvest in that community to build the values even more. Well, Lake Wales did the first CRA in the 80s, and it was the Northwest area, which makes sense. Then the next expansion was in the 90s. At the end of the 90s, they included almost all of the areas of Lake Wales in it, in the downtown area particularly. Now they want to include a huge area in that, which I think is a questionable concept, and the county thinks so too, because some of those are county areas, and they have ideas of what they want to do with that tax money. They don't necessarily want to let Lake Wales capture it. So they're talking about litigation actually to fight that.
Mm-hmm. You know, there was a period there also when, I don't remember who the commissioners were during that period, but they misused some of the CRA money for the Longleaf Business Park, which is not a blighted area. And I think we have to credit Robin Gibson for becoming aware of that and taking an effort to redirect it. So they started spending the money in the areas of town where it was supposed to be spent. But
yeah, I think it's interesting right now, like they're talking, some of the people over at the Chamber and the Economic Development Council are now once again saying that we need shovel ready, or, like buildings that are already built for businesses that want to move here. And we've already been through that with the Longleaf Business Park, and we ended up, because we couldn't fill it, selling it for a song. And it's like every time they bring it up, I just go, no, we've been there before. We're not going there again. It's like there's no institutional memory in this town sometimes.
Yeah, that's real pie in the sky stuff.
Well, I just want to say, that I'm a transplant here, and I've only been here since 2017. This is so interesting. I wonder if our listeners, know this. I wasn't aware exactly of that background of the Longleaf Center. And this is great. I'm glad to have you explaining it.
Well, the city built that and owned it, and they couldn't get it filled. So they ended up, and I don't remember all the details, but Charlene may remember more, but I remember it seems like we lost money. We sold it for a song and said we would never go in that business again. Mm-hmm. And now, there's, Skip Alford down at the Chamber is going, we need, buildings that are already built for our, these businesses that want to come here. And I'm like, heck no.
And you know what? We don't know that there are businesses who want to come here. Every time he does one of his quarterly presentations, he talks about businesses that he has had exchange with, but he's never named one of them as being one that really wants to come to Lake Wales. So I think there's a big discrepancy between what he's talking about as possibilities and what seems realistic for the city.
And the one that did come here built their own building.
Yes, I just think, we don't want to go there again. And I'm concerned about this expansion with the CRA, because now we have even more of this money, and I'm not seeing those contracts being, managed extremely well. We have questions about this BizLink business incubator contract right now. And, I have some serious problems with this contract with this gentleman, Daryl Starling, with the CRA, because the city is requiring no type of, report back on what this gentleman is doing with this $100,000 that they just gave him this money. So I think that if as a citizen, I would want to see more accountability before I'm starting to call the CRA money sort of funny money, because it seems like they don't have a lot of accountability for what they're doing with this money.
Mm-hmm. There are all kinds of questions with that, because he was given his whole $100,000 salary in one lump sum on the trust that he will use it to do what he's supposed to do. I don't think that's very responsible kind of handling of money on the part of the city. And then there's the BizLink thing. We don't have any clear evidence that BizLink is doing something useful, particularly for the Northwest area where it is located, and where there's on the door, there's no information about how to contact them. There's no phone number. And they're never there. If you knock on the door, you're not going to get an answer. You don't have any idea how to contact them. It's very, very strange. The other thing that bothers me about BizLink is, instead of hiring local people to do it, they brought in 3 people from Tampa. These guys aren't local. They're Tampa guys that came in who are running it. And I just think there were so many questions like that it's quite alarming.
Isn't one of them a pastor in
Well,
In the High Point Church.
Well, actually the gentleman that's going to give the presentation about BizLink, they call it BizLink, but the company is actually called Florida Development Corporation. And there's a lot of questions about this, like, was an RFP let to get this business? And it's a for-profit business. Both this BizLink and the other Mr. Starling's business are they're for-profit corporations, and Mr. Starling was working for the CRA before he went off and got his little company and started doing this as a consultant. So James Slayton told me that he was doing what he was supposed to do. And I said, well, that's nice. I'm glad that you feel that way, but we need some reports so that we can go out and we can ask people, is this what really happened with this money? Because he was bragging about giving out money to not-for-profits at one of the meetings. And
maybe we could ask Mr. Starling to come and meet with the 3 little ladies sometimes, and ask him to, this would be a way of his speaking to the public about what he's doing.
Well, my concern is that I know that Mr. Blue, who is the BizLink, isn't he the manager?
I guess he's the CEO.
Okay.
I think.
Well,
he said CEO of Florida Development Corporation.
Okay. He also is a pastor, and he is affiliated with a church in Lakeland, but also with Hilligoss's church.
With Mayor Hilligoss's high church.
My concern is this: there also is an incubator within Mayor Hilligoss's church. They have their own incubator. So my concern is, are they feeding people from that incubator into the one that they're paying for? Or I don't know. I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm just wondering. It looks to me like might be a conflict of interest there. I don't know. How do you ladies feel?
Yeah, at the city commission meeting, you remember Hilligoss said, when it was revealed that Pastor Derek Blue is part of his church in some way, a part of the teaching team, he said, well, he's not on our staff. And that's the only thing he said about it. Well, being not on the staff, does that mean he's not getting paid? What is it? I mean, he's on videos on their website, and
they show him, and he's definitely.
And I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go check, but I'm pretty sure that Mayor Hilligoss did not recuse himself from voting on that contract.
Good point.
So, I think that, and also, I think that a couple of other members, like Danny Krieger, and he indicated one other person was on the city commission, is part of his church. So I don't know if that's Daniel Williams. I've talked to Keith Thompson. He said he is not a member of Jack Hilligoss's church. So,
well, Daniel Williams has his own church.
I know, but he also said something about him being an associate pastor. So I don't know. So he said, I don't know whether Hilligoss misspoke on that Liberty pastor's video about that or what.
No, he didn't. No.
But anyway, it's just confusing. I think that there is, according to James Slayton, the city manager, they are going to be doing a performance audit of the BizLink Florida Development Corporation business. I asked him on Thursday what the timeline was. He said he did not know yet, but they've signed the contract for. They're calling it a performance. What do you call it? Performance audit. I think that and I don't know if you hire a person as a contractor, if you can do anything but a performance audit. But that money that paid for BizLink came from the American Rescue Plan, which is federal dollars. The money for the Daryl Starling contract came from the CRA directly. But I think that there should be some kind of financial accountability, particularly like when they're bragging, like this guy Daryl Starling bragged about giving out money from his $100,000. I don't understand that.
Well, communication would be on these topics should be forthcoming, because there are too many what if, or could it be, or, I'm concerned about this. We need to know more information, and we need to know what these relationships are.
Right, exactly. And it's very obscure, and the contracts themselves, I think, are fairly poorly written in my estimation. I've done contract management.
Well, I'd like to point out that we're into this for 30 minutes now, and we started out talking about the election. Maybe we should cycle back and say who we're voting for.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to or not, but y'all are welcome to. I think that I'm voting for change. Let's put it this way. I'm voting for a change because I've seen sometimes our incumbents voting as a block too many times. And I think we need some independent thinking and some scrutiny of what's going on right now. And we need people that are going to stand up for the citizens of Lake Wales, not just for large business interests.
Well, I will say that I'm voting to unseat existing commissioners for that very reason. We see them kind of voting as a block, and it's so bad it almost makes you suspect that they talk to each other when they're not at the commission meetings, and we need better discussion amongst them, more questioning of things. They don't question much. They all just sort of agree. And we need variety, and we need independent thinking. And that's what I'm going to vote for also.
Yeah.
I know Juanita. Do you think the same way, Juanita?
Well, first of all, Brandon Alvarado, I've seen him. I've worked with him on a couple of different over at Main Street for the Make It Magical committee. And I know he's done he has already established himself as a doer, and his main focus is on helping the community. So he's got my vote just for that alone, right? I also like the fact that he seems very intent on making sure that if he were elected, there would be better communication, and there'd be more really back and forth discourse. Now, Carol Gillespie, on the other hand, I know her also through an organization that I belong to with her. And she's a really bright, experienced person. And she's an independent thinker. She doesn't just go along with the crowd. She is not afraid to say what's on her mind. And what else could you ask for? Both of them, I hope they will unseat the two that are there now, who don't display any of those characteristics as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and I will say that win or lose, that we're still here. And, people will say, well, that's all politics. No, I think what we're trying to do is bring accountability to the government in our town, because I think there's a lack of institutional memory of things that have gone before, which is a problem. And there's also a lack of accountability for what is happening at times. I think we're going to break at the end of this conversation. And we're going to do another little video too that we'll release later in the week that I think we're going to talk a little more about that secret surprise meeting in Lake Alta and a couple of other things that might be of interest to people. But,
Okay, well, it's been
all right.
Old lives matter.
Onward and upward, right?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So hang on while I stop this little recording here. It takes me a minute sometimes.